Have you ever wondered why, despite doing everything right, saying the right things, being emotionally available, showing love and care, some connections still fade away? It's not always about what you say. Sometimes it's the quiet, almost invisible moments that leave the deepest imprint. Today, I want to talk to you about one silent move, a subtle but powerful action that has the potential to change the entire dynamic between you and a man. There's a subtle yet powerful shift that happens when you learn to be fully present with someone without applying pressure for emotional outcomes. Most people in dating and relationships are subconsciously looking for reassurance. They ask questions not because they want answers, but because they need to feel secure. They give compliments hoping to get one back. They invest emotionally hoping for equal return. But the moment your presence becomes conditional, it loses its power. What truly makes a man start to bond with you isn't when you ask him to connect. It's when you stop trying and simply asterisk our asterisk. Presence without pressure means showing up in your fullest, most grounded self without needing him to validate your worth. It's the confidence of being able to sit with silence, to enjoy the moment without checking if he's just as invested, to let the interaction breathe. A woman who doesn't need to fill every space with conversation or questions gives him the space to show up too. And men crave that space more than most women realize. Emotional pressure, even when subtle, can push a man to shut down. But when he feels like there's no demand being placed on him, he relaxes. And when a man relaxes, he opens up. This presence communicates something deeply attractive, that your value isn't tied to his reaction, that you're whole already. It's this emotional self-possession that makes a man lean in, not because you forced him to, but because he felt drawn to you in a way that's unfamiliar. There's mystery in it, there's strength in it, and most importantly, there's safety in it. He's not being evaluated. He's not being chased. He's simply being seen, accepted, and allowed to exist next to someone who isn't trying to fix him, impress him, or get something from him. When you bring this kind of grounded energy into your interactions, you shift the dynamic. You stop performing. You stop chasing closeness. You start allowing it to happen on its own terms. That allowance is magnetic. And the best part is, it doesn't require words. It's a silent message, one he can feel but can't quite explain. That kind of presence isn't just attractive, it's unforgettable. There's something undeniably powerful about the silent act of withdrawing, not out of anger, not to punish, but as a quiet return to yourself. When you step back without drama, without explanation, it sends a clear message. I value myself enough not to chase someone who isn't showing up. That decision alone shifts the energy entirely. Most people are so afraid of losing a connection that they cling tighter, they overcommunicate, they try to convince the other person of their worth. But that energy isn't attractive, it's exhausting, it creates imbalance, and more often than not, it pushes the other person further away. When a woman makes the decision to withdraw, it often comes after repeated moments of feeling unseen, unheard, or undervalued. Instead of fighting for attention or trying to reignite interest through words or gestures, she simply pulls her energy back. This move is quiet but firm. It doesn't come with ultimatums. It doesn't need a loud goodbye. It's just space, clean, unforced space that allows her to reclaim her peace. And in that space, something profound happens. A man who may have been taking her presence for granted begins to feel the shift. He notices the absence, not just of her physical presence, but of the emotional support, the warmth, the care she used to give freely. This isn't about playing games. It's about resetting the dynamic. When you silently withdraw, you're not trying to manipulate him into chasing you. You're reminding yourself of your own value. You're choosing not to be where you feel depleted, and that self-respect is deeply compelling. It forces a man to reassess. Because when someone is always available, their value can become invisible. But when she's gone, when her energy is no longer wrapped around his life, it becomes undeniable. He feels it, he misses it, and he begins to understand what it meant. This move also resets the emotional playing field. If things were unbalanced, if you were giving more, doing more, trying harder, stepping back allows that imbalance to correct itself. It gives him the chance to step up, to notice the gap, to fill the space that's now been left open. And whether he rises to meet it or not, the most important shift has already happened. You've shown that your love is valuable enough not to be handed over where it's not matched in relationships. One of the most misunderstood concepts is the idea of giving. Many people are taught that love means giving endlessly, pouring yourself into someone, showing them how much you care through constant effort. But when that giving is one-sided, it creates an emotional imbalance that not only exhausts the giver, but also robs the other person of the chance to contribute and invest. Matching energy rather than overgiving is a silent but powerful move that commands respect and creates emotional equity. When you constantly give without considering whether it's being reciprocated, you communicate often unintentionally that your love must be earned, that you need to do more in order to keep someone around. That energy doesn't inspire connection. It creates a dynamic where you're the one proving your worth while the other person simply receives. But when you choose instead to mirror effort, to match what someone is giving rather than exceed it, you create space for mutual contribution. You allow the relationship to develop organically without you carrying all the emotional labor. Matching energy means if he texts you, you respond. If he shows up for you, you show up for him. But if he becomes distant or inconsistent, you don't chase, you pause. Not to punish, but to reflect. You calibrate your investment to match his, and that choice, though quiet, speaks volumes. It shows that you're paying attention. It shows that you're not desperate to hold on to something that isn't holding on to you. And most importantly, it shows that you understand your own worth. This doesn't mean playing it cool or being emotionally unavailable. It means being tuned in to the dynamic and choosing to participate in a way that honors both people's efforts. When a man sees that you're not giving more than you're receiving, it changes how he experiences the relationship. It encourages him to step up. It signals that you are someone who values fairness, emotional responsibility, and shared effort. That kind of energy creates a bond that feels stable, balanced, and deeply respectful. People naturally invest more in the things they work for. When a man has to meet you where you are, rather than watching you constantly reach for him, he starts to feel more engaged. He becomes more emotionally invested. And in that space of mutual effort, true connection begins to grow. There's a kind of strength that doesn't come from what you say, but from what you allow. And more importantly, what you don't. Silent standards are the invisible framework by which people learn how to treat you. You don't have to announce them, defend them, or explain them. You simply live by them. When a woman holds herself to a certain standard in how she engages, how she responds, and how she moves through situations that don't serve her, a man doesn't need a speech to understand what she will or won't tolerate. He feels it. Every relationship, whether romantic or not, is governed by what you permit. If you constantly excuse bad behavior, if you keep showing up for someone who isn't showing up for you, if you say one thing and do another, Your actions will teach him more than your words ever could. Silent standards aren't about confrontation. They are about alignment. You align your actions with your worth. If he flakes, you don't chase. If he disrespects your time, you don't rearrange your life to accommodate him. If he's inconsistent, you don't become more available to prove yourself. You do less, you step back, you let your absence reflect your boundary. This kind of quiet strength doesn't provoke defensiveness, it provokes reflection. Because when you don't explain yourself, when you simply remove your energy from situations that don't feel right, it leaves space for him to examine his own behavior. A man might not change because you told him to, but he might when he realizes your standard means access to you is conditional on respect. And that realization often has far more power than any conversation. Silent standards also preserve your dignity. They keep you from entering cycles of over-explaining, justifying, or begging someone to treat you better. They eliminate the need for drama or emotional escalation. Instead, they allow you to quietly redirect your focus back to yourself. That calm detachment is magnetic. It shows you're not trying to control anyone else. You're simply choosing yourself. And that self-respect is something people notice, even if they can't quite put their finger on it. When a man encounters a woman with silent standards, he recognizes that this is someone who doesn't operate out of fear or insecurity. She operates from value, and value doesn't need to announce itself to be understood. Letting someone feel your absence is one of the most underrated but powerful moves you can make in a connection. It's easy to believe that closeness is maintained by constant presence, by always being there, always being available, always giving. But when you're constantly present, emotionally and physically, the other person never has the opportunity to fully register what your presence truly means. Sometimes the greatest clarity doesn't come when you're near someone, but when you're not. It's in the stillness of your absence that a man begins to feel the weight of your presence. When you create space, especially after investing deeply, it's not about punishing or playing hard to get. It's about allowing the emotional dust to settle. Men process differently. Often, when they feel something strong, their instinct isn't to move toward it, but to step back to understand it. But if you're always there, filling the space, following up, over-explaining, or trying to keep the connection alive, they never get the room they need to process how they actually feel. Your constant availability becomes a comfort they don't question. It becomes part of the background noise, appreciated but unnoticed. But when that presence is no longer there, when your energy withdraws quietly, a man is forced to feel the difference. He notices that something is missing, not just your messages or your voice, but the warmth, attention, and emotional consistency you brought. It's not a loud departure, it's subtle, and it's in that subtlety that he becomes aware of what he may have been taking for granted. Absence creates space for appreciation. It stirs reflection. It gives him time to miss you. Not the idea of you, but the feeling of being around you. This move isn't just about him. It's about you reclaiming your own emotional space. Stepping back allows you to reconnect with yourself, to see the dynamic clearly, and to remind yourself that your value is not tied to someone else's recognition. Letting him feel your absence is a powerful act of self-respect. It creates contrast. It introduces a moment of pause in which real emotion can emerge. When someone has been surrounded by your energy and suddenly it's gone, the impact is felt on a deeper level than anything you could have said out loud. Emotional self-control is one of the most underrated forms of attraction. It's not about being cold or detached. It's about showing that you are in charge of your emotions, rather than your emotions being in charge of you. In relationships, especially early on, people tend to react impulsively to perceived rejection, inconsistency, or uncertainty. But when you respond to these moments with calm, grounded energy, it communicates something incredibly powerful: that you are stable, secure, and not easily shaken. When a man sees that you don't overreact when he pulls away slightly, that you don't flood him with anxious messages when he's quiet, or that you don't start fights when you feel unsure, it builds a sense of emotional safety. Emotional self-control doesn't mean bottling things up or avoiding honesty. It means choosing how and when to respond in a way that reflects your self-worth. You can still express your needs, but you do so from a place of clarity, not chaos. You can still have boundaries, but you enforce them with calm decisiveness rather than with threats or emotional outbursts. This kind of composure is not only rare, it's magnetic. It creates contrast. Most people are reactive, especially when they care deeply. But when you show restraint, when you choose silence instead of chasing, when you pause instead of pleading, it creates space. And in that space, a man starts to wonder what's behind your calm. He begins to feel the depth of your self-respect. You become someone he feels safe with, not just because you're kind or understanding, but because you don't lose yourself in the highs and lows of the relationship dynamic. It's in these quiet moments of control that a man often feels most drawn to you, not because you're being distant, but because you're showing that you don't need external validation to feel whole. That steadiness is deeply attractive. It makes him feel that you're not a storm he has to survive, but a center of calm he can return to. When your presence is combined with emotional discipline, you become the kind of person who draws others in, not through noise, but through quiet strength. It's that calm confidence that lingers in his mind long after the conversation ends.